Daniel Jeremiah, my colleague from the NFL Network and NFL Media Group and the Move the Sticks podcast with Bucky Brooks is here on the program. All right, DJ, now that we are 2 days removed from the Combine, what's your impression? What did you come away with from Indy?
I think it's the quarterbacks. I think some years, and we all know what those years are like when you're trying to drum up interest in quarterbacks, and I think that maybe there's only one first rounder, but how high does he go? And then you get a year like this one where you've got four guys, and really I would add a fifth with Hendon Hooker, who I think is a good player, and I think is going to be intriguing to see where he lands. But really that big four, from schools that people are familiar with and people have watched them, and then you go to the Combine and three of them throw, and I would say the athletic display by Anthony Richardson, as well as the fact that he threw the ball, extremely well. And then I thought Stroud, even though he didn't run, had one of the best pure throwing sessions that we've seen. And we've got teams with needs at the position. So it's like this is the next phase of it. We saw them all deliver, and now we're going to see these teams see who wants to get antsy and jumpy and go make it happen.
Well, I had Anthony Richardson on yesterday, and I started walking down the teams asking if he met with them. And when I got to Indianapolis, obviously met with the Chicago, and he said he met with Houston. When I said to Indianapolis, he paused and he said informally. Can you interpret that for me? What does an informal meeting at the Combine mean, Daniel?
So you're restricted by number to the guys you can bring into your formal, 15-minute interviews. I think they might even expanded that to maybe a 17 or 18-minute interview. But those are on the list, and those guys, when you see the players walking around the Combine, on the back of their credential has the list of the teams that they have to formally meet with,
right. Meaning
this is the time and place they are going to meet with them. Outside of that, they will take the whole pool of players, and they'll have their own time in you kind of like an open area of the Combine, and then teams can informally come up to them and talk to them. But it's, you don't know. It's get it as you can there for all those teams. So it was a very informal conversation. But I would imagine the bulk of the Colts' homework is going to be on bringing those guys in for visits into the facility, as well as visiting with them for private workouts and pro days.
So I guess they figure we'll meet with them eventually. We don't have to use up one of our spaces at the Combine, because that's kind of interesting.
I think that's probably the way it is. I always think that anytime you get a chance to visit with these guys, you want to take it. You can't talk to them enough, get comfortable with them. But they chose to allocate those resources elsewhere. Maybe also, maybe just spitballing here, but maybe when your owner comes out publicly and says how much he likes a particular quarterback, you might felt that that's damaged a little bit of your leverage, and so maybe just kind of playing it cool, playing a little hard to get here.
To reset, a little reset by letting everyone know, we didn't meet with any of them at the Combine. We didn't do that.
Maybe if one falls, maybe we would take one, but we're not desperate. That's not us.
Oh, my word. Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who helped themselves the most, do you think, with the workouts?
Well, yeah, there was some good ones, man. I mean, Kalijah Cansey, to me, I don't know that I've seen one like that in terms of you get a defensive tackle who is really, really explosive at Pitt. And the obvious comparisons are going to be there with Aaron Donald being undersized and being the best player in the entire league. So that's lofty expectations to try and hold up to, but he's listed at 6 foot 280. I can't tell you the number of times, Rich, I've gone to the Combine and guys are listed on the website at 6 foot 280, or when I was scouting, a thing actually called a program media guide, for those that are young, aren't familiar with those fine pieces of paper. But I don't recall many times where a guy comes in and he's a full inch taller than he was listed. So I was worried he was going to be 5'11", 270 pounds and be like, gosh, what do we do with this guy? He comes in, he's 6'1", even 281 pounds. He runs a 4.67. So he helped himself tremendously.
And that's just one defensive player. You got an offensive player that may have helped himself tremendously.
Yeah, there's a ton. To me, we've talked about the quarterbacks and obviously that group. I think when you look at the tight end position, I referenced during the broadcast, I think it's the best we've had in a decade. And when you go out there and you see Darnell Washington at 264 pounds, run 4.64, and then add in the highlight of all highlights with the one-handed catch on the field, just showing you what an athletic freak he is. And I would say also, Nobody has moved Fred the Sled quite as efficiently as Darnell Washington.
For real. He did a better job of moving that sled than offensive lineman did. than the actual offensive line.
He was impressive. And I would say Sam Laporta, too. You know, Iowa's been a tight end factory. He came out there. He ran under 4.6 and had an excellent field workout. So I thought a couple of those tight ends were impressive. And the running backs, you know, those are the two deep groups on offense, and I thought both of them really worked out well. Bijan Robinson was awesome. Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama ran under 4.4. Zach Charbonnet from UCLA looked good. Tajay Spears, who we highlighted. And then, Rich, you got a chance to give out the first ever Mr. Hustle Award to Evan Hull from Northwestern in the Combine.
Did you guys see that part of the running back workout? Evan Hull, every rep, took it to the house.
Oh, I did notice that.
He ran into the end zone.
I did notice he was doing that.
Every rep running it into the end zone, and we had, you know, the next gen discs, the Zebra
player
technology
data.
Yeah, the player tracking data, the Zebra technology discs that are on them, so they track all their steps. Evan Hull of Northwestern had the most steps of any of the running back group by far, because he took each one to the house, which was wild. I'd never seen that before in the history of the Combine. I
remember going to basketball camps, Rich. Do you remember, like, you go to sport camps when you were a kid and they give you, the most outstanding camper, but then they had the Mr. Hustle Award. You know, like I think we could call that the Evan Hull Award going forward from every Combine on down to history.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's hit the discussion that we had on Saturday when the quarterbacks were out there and Bryce Young wasn't working out, but he did get weighed and measured that day, 5'10" and an eighth. And I asked you on the air your thoughts on the height, and tell me how many times watching this kid's tape, film, however, that you thought to yourself, he looks small. So I'll give you the floor on that.
Yeah, no, I didn't think there really were. You know, when you think about the height aspect of it, I thought you could literally count on one hand the number of times where I'm seeing, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if he maybe could see this, this route pop, but I'm talking 2 or 3 times, and I've watched every throw that he's made at Alabama. So it rarely came up. It was not an issue at all. He's got unbelievable feel to be able to slide around and move around and find windows. I remember Andy Reid, when I was with the Eagles, we had an undersized quarterback came in our interview room, and it was talking about his height, and Andy Reid said, look, we don't throw over buildings, we throw between buildings. And I thought Bryce Young is somebody who's very comfortable doing that. So I didn't see the height thing as an issue at all. And, he's slight framed, and that's going to be more of a concern is, forget the weight, forget the height. It's just he's narrow and he's not real thick. So is he going to be able to physically hold up? But he does a very good job of avoiding taking big hits. He knows how to fall. He knows how to get away from guys. He knows how to slide. Knows how to get out of bounds. So I thought he's done a nice job of utilizing those areas to try and protect himself. But the risk still exists, Rich. That is a real thing. You've got to account for that. That's the gamble you take with Bryce is, can he physically just stay healthy? But in terms of how he plays the game, there's no questions.
Well, then and tell the story that you heard about his FBI, if you will, football intelligence.
Oh.
Give me that one that you told. Dan.
Off the charts. I talked to a play caller in the league who's a guy that I respect tremendously, and said he's the smartest quarterback he's ever visited with. And said when you have guys like that, he could, no matter what play we pulled up, he would tell you exactly what the situation was and what he was seeing with his guys. But that's something you come to see from top level guys who are sharp. He said this guy could tell you everything that was going on the other side in terms of the front, in terms of the coverage. He knows where his guys are. He knows where your guys are supposed to be, and he knew it on every single play that they showed.
And then what about when you said at Alabama, right? He'd get the game plan, something along those lines?
Oh gosh, yes.
What's that one?
So talking to the folks at Bama, they said they give you your game plan packet on a Sunday. They've got a million analysts there. They have so much going on there. They have so many people employed. So they give you your game plan on Sunday. So say you play a game on Saturday night. You come in Sunday, you get some treatment. They'll give you your game plan for the team you're getting ready to play the next week. And usually on Monday, you'll start working on that and going through that. And by the time you get to Thursday, you feel pretty comfortable about what you like and what you don't like and how you're going to approach this upcoming game. They said he would come in Monday having swallowed that entire game plan. He would have circled things he liked against this team. He would have added notes of things he thought they should do from a protection standpoint. and a route combination standpoint. And the coaches would sit there and say, you know what, he's probably right. We should take this out. Let's put this in. Like, and they said that's and they've had quarterbacks there. Obviously, we know
Sure.
who they all are.
Yeah.
And nothing like this.
That's got to count for something. I mean, and that's a way you can also keep yourself healthy. Again, the SEC is not filled with second-tier players. I mean, that's as close you can get to professional football in many people's eyes. And the fact that he's emerged virtually unscathed is a plus. And then there's Stroud, who looked amazing. I'm telling you, man. I mean, he would just flip it, and the spiral would just drop in the bucket, no matter what route he was throwing. What's the talk about him maybe in first overall coming out of the combine?
Yeah, I think it's in play. I think he's very much in play to be the top quarterback picked. I think he's the best pure passer. Just, when you watch him, you make the comment, you make the observation when you're watching him. Like, this guy just looks like he's been throwing a football his whole life. It comes out so smooth. When he throws that deep ball, he's got kind of a nice little natural whip to it, and the ball has got unbelievable spin. And everything was on target. It's hard to be on target consistently when you're throwing to a bunch of guys you've never thrown to before. But everything he threw was on the proper shoulder. He had the proper trajectory. Some of the guys throw a deep ball was a little bit flat. As impressive as Richardson was, there were some deep balls where the ball was a little bit flat. With C.J. Stroud, every ball just had the perfect trajectory and dropped it in the bucket, as you said, Rich, and looked like he had such a calm and cool about him. The word that I came away with saying, if you had to describe what we saw with him, I don't know that I use this word often with quarterbacks, but it was graceful. Yeah,
it sure was. There's no question about it. I mean, his every move was very smooth, and so were his throws. We spoke to Richardson yesterday, and he met with a ton of teams, man. I mean, the teams that you'd expect, including Tennessee, Tampa, Washington. Interestingly, New England, we all know that Belichick likes to just kick tires, right? Just so he knows when he faces them. Unless, who knows?
He forgot to defend him, yeah.
Right? I mean, the Jets are one of them. But what about the idea of Richardson testing so well? His pro day, no doubt, will be like a Christmas tree lighting up. Could he be number one overall too, Daniel?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a chance that, I would say Levis, and I don't see him having a chance to emerge as the top quarterback, but I think it is a three-person race, and I would not be stunned or surprised at any of the three. I think when people are watching that and you're seeing how Anthony Richardson is moving around, he has a strong arm. I thought he was smoother with his footwork than maybe even I anticipated. I've seen strides he's continuing to make there. But when you think about it, we saw this guy run a 4.4. To put it in context, Rich, he's the same size he's almost identical to the same size as Big Ben. Like, think about that. Think about Big Ben and how big he looks on a football field, and then think about Big Ben running in the mid-4.4s. It's just stupid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. It is stupid. But, I mean, can he start now? I mean, I asked him, and I knew what his answer would be, but he was very full of conviction. Day one, week one, he's ready to go. Well, your evaluation would be what? I mean, would that be a problem? Is there so let me just ask, does he need to get lucky and wind up with a team that's willing to redshirt him? Didn't you mention that on the air at one point about him?
I like the idea of redshirting him just to get him even more comfortable and to work through, some things throwing wise, which I've already seen improvement from what we saw in the fall to what we saw at the combine.
Right.
I'd like to buy a little time. It's hard nowadays to buy a whole year, but even if you could buy him 6 weeks, just to get comfortable and then put him out there. But I mean, make no mistake about it. When he gets onto the field initially, he's going to major with his legs and minor with his arm. Like you're going to really use his legs, and that's something that we've seen Fields, even though they didn't win a lot of games, he made them competitive really with his legs. So I think Richardson goes out there and he can do all that plus with his legs, and then hey, let's just keep on that track that he's on right now of improving. The one thing you want to be a little bit realistic here, Rich, because I know that the Cam Newton comparison is thrown out there, and Cam Newton didn't play a ton of ball in college and all that. That Auburn team that Cam Newton was on did not have much talent on offense. and they went undefeated, won a national championship, and he won the Heisman Trophy. So I feel like maybe let's not be so quick to put him in Cam's class in terms of what he's accomplished and who he is right now.
All right, and then last couple for you, Daniel Jeremiah. Crystal ball, the Bears' first overall pick journey for me from now all the way to the draft. What do you think? What are they going to do?
Well, I definitely think they get out. I don't think there's any chance they'd stick and pick. I think they get out. I think, in my opinion, the most likely options are going to be 4 and 9, which would be the Colts and the Panthers. I think the Texans, if you get in their shoes, right, if you're the Texans, I think there's 4 quarterbacks that are interesting. I think you can talk yourself into 2 of them, and you can sit there and say, I don't really want to part with a bunch of picks to go up one spot. We really are comfortable with 2 guys. And there's also the little bit of the egg on your face of having to give up picks because you won that game at the end of the year. This kind of pushes that storyline aside a little bit if you just stay there and say, we were happy with either one of these guys.
Right.
But I think when you're the Colts, there's a very real chance you could get your 4th guy. There could be quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. I don't think they can afford to take that chance. And then the Carolina Panthers, Tepper just seems like he's ready. He's ready to be bold and be aggressive, and seems like that's in his DNA. And they would like to go up there and get something done. So those are the 2 teams I think that are most likely to do it. There's the multiple trade down scenario. I think is the perfect world if you're the Bears. That's going to be tricky to pull all that off.
Well, I mean, sitting there at 9, you can get yourself a heck of a player anyway. And what was that? What was it? Do you remember? You said it on the air. What you get if you're the Bears, because there's a chart that from Carolina.
I had it all printed out. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was. I want to say you have to give up your 4th round pick and the 1st overall pick,
right?
And coming back your way, you get their 1st round pick this year, their 2nd round pick this year, as well as 2 future ones. So it was in total, if you count that one, 3 1s and a 2.
Sold. If you're Ryan Poles,
I do that all day. Which Rich, again, this is one of the storylines as we go forward. Don't sit there and say, well, we don't want to trade out a range of one of the top defensive players. No. You are not one top defensive player away. Get as many picks as you can. Whoever you get at 9 is going to be a really good player who's going to help you, in addition to all this other capital you're going to get and stuff in future years, which we don't know what that could look like. That could be a gold mine.
And then if you're sitting there at Philadelphia at 10, if you're the Bears moving down to 9, right? If you're Tennessee thinking of shopping Derrick Henry, is that where Bijan Robinson winds up in this draft? What do you think? Does he get pushed up top 10? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we saw it in the workout. I think he's one of the premier players in the draft. It's just a matter of who's going to do it, who's comfortable, taking one up there. I know the Bears have a good, group of backs, but
right.
that, he's a different type of player now. Wouldn't be fun to watch him and Justin Fields kind of grow up together. But I think the team that he fits the best would be the Eagles. Hasn't really been in their DNA to do it, but that would be to me, that's the most ideal logical fit. But I don't think he gets by. If you talk about how far could Bijan Robinson slide,
yes,
I think 14 is the absolute floor. I don't think Bill Belichick would pass on him.
You love that, Chris. Look at you sitting straight up in your chair. That's no minivan there. That's
him and Ramondre together. Let's go.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, that would be fun, and you'd have some what he could do in the passing game as well. You could have stuff where you get him and Rodgers Stevenson on the field at the same time. You give Mac Jones some easy yards.
He's not going to
that way.
14. I mean, who are we?
I don't know. You never know. I mean, you're talking about all the quarterbacks. You're talking about.
I know, but if Carolina goes to 1
rushers?
and Chicago's at 9, why wouldn't the Bears take him at 9?
I don't know because again, there's so many great players that we saw.
Stinks. That's probably why.
You got offensive linemen that's got to go. You got some pass rushers got to go, and the quarterbacks. It's you never know. It's feasible. And then before I let you go, Daniel, the news that Aaron Rodgers is in New York talking to the Jets. Your thoughts on that right now?
Just it seemed like they were. They were kind of pot committed to making a move on a veteran, and it seems like, with Carr to the wayside, that's the only one that's really left. We can talk about Garoppolo or maybe Tannehill, but it seems like they're going to exhaust every potential here of trying to get the Aaron Rodgers thing done. So I just got to believe it's got to happen soon, because you can't get left holding the bag if you're the Jets. You can't sit here and wait for Aaron Rodgers and watch Garoppolo land and whatever happens with Tannehill, and all of a sudden you've got nothing. Like, you've got to know here pretty soon.
Right. I mean, the new league year starts in 8 days, the negotiation window in 6, and then there's franchise tags later on today. I mean, things will begin to settle, but what does that mean for Zach, right? I mean, they're
if I'm Zach, I'm praying that it's Aaron Rodgers. That's his dream. That's his dream
why?
guy. Because you get Aaron Rodgers, and there's no shame in sitting behind a multi-MVP first ballot Hall of Famer. And you don't know, Aaron Rodgers could play 1 year and be done, and you could be right back. You could be right back in the mix. If they signed Derek Carr, Zach Wilson's days were over there. Now I think Aaron Rodgers, not only maybe you can learn from him, and I think Aaron and him have a decent relationship.
Right.
But I think Zach Wilson's future there's still a flicker of hope with Aaron Rodgers there. I think what they bring in a Jimmy Garoppolo, one of these other guys, I think he's played his last ball there.
DJ, you're the man. You are so great to work with. You are. You're just awesome to work with. You're awesome to be around. Your information is only surpassed by your decency and personality, and it's awesome, brother. You're the best, really, truly.
Well, I get a chance to work with the best in the business, Rich. Nobody does it like you. And like we said, we were walking, and Brockman will believe this because he knows us folks so well. We kind of just had a chuckle as we finished up and said, can you imagine if you didn't like the person you were doing this with? I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, I guess Chris can imagine working with somebody who's in like every day, right, Chris?
Don't talk about Mike like that.
Oh, okay. Very good. Take care of yourself, Daniel. I'm gonna iron out the personality issues in my locker room. There you go. There's Daniel Jeremiah. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.